The movie starts with an intense illegal street race, where skilled racers push their limits. Suddenly, the wail of police sirens pierces the night, and flashing lights flood the streets. Chaos erupts as racers scramble to escape. Wes, one of the competitors, loses control and crashes his bike, leading to his immediate arrest. While serving time, Wes meets with his probation officer, who warns him about the difficulties of finding a job. She suggests construction work, but Wes isn't interested. His only concern is when he can reclaim his bike. Upon release, he wastes no time and retrieves it, eager to return to the world of racing. Wes arrives at a race event, blending into the crowd as he watches the action. Amid the roaring engines, his eyes lock onto a familiar figure in a helmet. After the race, he approaches one of the competitors, Dean Miller, the father who abandoned him. Wes attempts to engage Dean in conversation, but Dean is initially uninterested and doesn't recognize him until Wes mentions his mother, Laura Neal. Once Dean realizes who Wes is, he still tries to dismiss him, stating it's not the best time. Wes, however, continues to press, and Dean finally suggests they go to a nearby bar called Maggie to talk over drinks. That evening, Wes meets Dean at the bar, but Dean acts irresponsibly, flirting and hooking up with women right in front of him. Frustrated, Wes decides to leave. Dean follows him outside, attempting to calm him down, but Wes is uninterested in hearing excuses. Wes then suggests they smoke and chat. During their conversation, Wes reveals his real reason for meeting. He wants to pursue a career in professional racing. Dean is doubtful, pointing out how tough it is to break into the sport, especially at Wes's age, since most racers are scouted when they're much younger. Upset, Wes starts to leave, but Dean offers to help. He invites Wes to bring his bike to the Legacy Speed Shop where he works, offering a free tune-up. Wes agrees to stop by the next day, and Dean heads to the shop. Wes met the owner, Abel, and was introduced to Dean, who had come from the back. Dean then led Wes to the garage, showing him the bikes. He pointed out a high-performance one, and Wes eagerly asked if he could take it for a ride. They both went out riding together, but Dean quickly noticed Wes being reckless. Frustrated, he signaled for Wes to pull over. Dean sternly warned that such behavior was dangerous and could get them both killed. Wes shrugged it off, implying Dean was just upset about losing. Despite Wes's attitude, Dean agreed to take him to the track but emphasized that discipline was key. He warned that reckless riding would end their partnership. The next morning, Dean handed Wes a racing jacket, and they hit the track. During the race, Wes lost control and crashed. Dean mocked him and told him to load the damaged bike onto the truck. Back at the motel, Wes, desperate, asked what to do. Dean bluntly told him to strip it for parts and make some money. Wes then revealed racing was his last hope after 6 months in prison. Dean, initially doubtful, agreed to train Wes under strict conditions, telling him to show up Monday morning, ready to work. The next morning, Wes stopped by a diner, where a waitress recognized him and asked about his bike. He admitted he had crashed it. She asked where he was from, noting he was new in town. Before leaving, Wes asked her out for drinks. She declined at first, saying she didn't date customers, but after he promised not to eat there again, she gave him her number. Later, Wes arrived at the shop, where Dean handed him a new bike. Wes promised to pay him back. As Dean worked on the bike, he shared some of his past. While they talked, Abel arrived, telling Dean someone was there for him. Abel then offered Wes a job, which he accepted. He started working at the shop, with Abel closely watching his interactions with customers. Meanwhile, Wes continued training with Dean. Dean initially coached him through an earpiece while riding, but Wes found it annoying and turned it off. Regardless, Dean kept training him, and Wes steadily improved. One day, after a session, Dean admitted he had forgotten the joy of riding after years of competing. He told Wes he was ready for his first race, and Wes agreed, feeling confident. That evening, Wes met Camila, the waitress, for drinks. They talked about motorcycles, with Camila expressing her belief that they were dangerous. Camila shared that she was studying to become a nurse. When she suggested dancing, Wes hesitated, admitting he couldn't dance, but she convinced him. They ended up dancing and sharing a kiss. The next morning, Wes arrived at the track for his first race. As preparations began, two racers, Bobby and Cody, showed up. Dean introduced Wes as Legacy's newest rider, leading to some banter. Bobby and Cody, representing Feral Performance, mentioned their high expectations and recent equipment upgrades, setting up a rivalry. As the race began, Dean stood among the crowd, cheering for Wes. Camila was also there, loudly supporting him. Wes quickly took the lead, and after an intense competition, he won. Dean proudly announced Wes as his son. Wes received his trophy, and after the ceremony, Camila congratulated him. Dean introduced himself as Wes's father and trainer. Camila, preparing for her night shift, asked why Wes never mentioned his father. He simply replied, "It's complicated." After saying goodbye, she kissed him and left. That night, Wes and Dean celebrated at a bar. Wes thanked Dean, who responded, "I wouldn't have helped if I didn't believe in you." They toasted to the journey ahead. Dean, in high spirits, excitedly announced to the bar that Wes had won his first race and invited everyone to buy him a drink. The next morning, Wes arrived late to work, reeking of alcohol. Abel called him into his office and pointed out that Wes had celebrated his win the night before and was now 2 hours late. Wes apologized, assuring Abel it wouldn't happen again. Though disappointed, Abel reminded him that Dean wasn't his father and that he needed to stay focused. Wes promised he was there to race and wouldn't disappoint. Later, Wes shared the situation with Dean, who offered him his R6 to race, explaining his own back injury prevented him from continuing. Dean encouraged Wes to move up to the 600 class, where he could compete at higher levels and earn better money, confident in Wes's abilities. The next day, Wes took Camila to a lake where they talked. Camila thought Dean seemed cool, but Wes explained he had only met him to race, not to form a bond. Camila shared her story about her father and how she had eventually forgiven him for her own peace of mind. That night, Wes stayed over at Camila's place. The next morning, a knock on the door startled them. Camila quickly told Wes to get dressed. When he did, he saw Camila with a young boy and her mother. She introduced the boy as her son, Leo. Later, after showing Leo Wes's bike, Wes asked why Camila hadn't mentioned her son earlier. Camila confessed to being afraid of scaring Wes off, acknowledging it was selfish of her. Wes reassured her, mentioning that Leo seemed like a sweet boy. He then told her he needed to head to the track and promised to call her. At the track, Wes started training with his new $50,000 race bike but struggled to handle it. He expressed his frustration to Dean, who, in disbelief, reminded him of the bike's high value and expected performance. Wes suggested sticking with his twin bike for more experience before moving on to the new one. Dean, however, insisted that if Wes finished in the top 3 in Open Supersport, he would qualify for the Nationals, which could attract more sponsors, a goal Wes had always dreamed of. Later, Wes spent time with Camila and Leo, who opened up about Leo's father not being involved in his life. The following day, Camila and Leo attended Wes's race. Before the race, Dean approached Wes, surprised to learn about Camila's child. After a brief acknowledgement, Dean changed the subject and instructed Wes to take Cody off the track, criticizing him for being a spoiled rider who endangered others. He suggested that by removing Cody, Wes would be doing a favor for everyone on the track. The race started, and Wes followed his father's orders to take out Cody. Afterward, tensions erupted into a fight between Dean and Cody, with Wes jumping in. Amid the chaos, Camila quickly left, and though Wes tried to stop her, she departed without saying a word. Abel confronted Dean later, accusing him of tarnishing both the shop and the sport by promoting reckless actions. Dean argued that Wes would have been on the podium if he had stuck to the plan, but Abel was unmoved. He insisted Dean take Legacy's name off Wes's suit, criticizing him for living in the past and ruining Wes's career after his injury. Dean, defensive, insisted he didn't need Abel and was determined to push Wes to the top. Abel warned that Dean might be dragging Wes down, then walked away, leaving Dean alone and defiant. Dean then told Wes that he was leaving the shop and wanted Wes to come with him. Wes expressed concern about money, but Dean reassured him they'd be fine financially. He urged Wes to move in with him so they could focus on training and secure a spot on a racing team with big sponsorships. When Wes hesitated, Dean reminded him to stay focused and warned against getting too involved with Camila, implying that it could ruin his future. The next day, Wes went to the shop and apologized to Abel for the fight. He explained that he was leaving because he needed to train full-time. Wes moved in with Dean, who showed him where he would stay and told him they would begin training the next day. The following morning, training resumed, but Wes had difficulty adjusting to the bike, growing more frustrated by the minute. Dean tried to help by sharing his own experiences. Later, Wes went to Camila to make amends. However, after seeing him hit someone, she voiced her concerns, telling him she didn't want him around her son. She also confronted him for not telling her he had been in prison, mentioning that Dean had revealed it. The conversation turned into a heated argument, with Wes accusing her of wanting a father figure for Leo and saying she was standing in his way. Hurt, Camila asked him to leave. Wes returned to Dean's house and asked about his past with his mother. Dean explained they had met in church and had a good time together, which led to her becoming pregnant. Dean admitted he wasn't happy about it and chose to leave, prioritizing racing over becoming a father. This revelation upset Wes deeply, and a fight broke out. As Wes prepared to leave, Dean broke down in tears, admitting he was afraid of being a father. That night, Wes took part in an illegal race, which resulted in his arrest. Abel came to his rescue, bailing him out, and Wes, overwhelmed, hugged him and broke down in tears. At Abel's house, Abel asked Wes about Camila, and Wes confessed that their relationship had fallen apart. Abel then shared his own painful story, revealing that his marriage ended because he had chosen racing over his family. He offered Wes a place to stay as long as he needed. The following day, Dean came by to apologize for their previous argument. He opened up about his abusive father, explaining how it led him to believe he wouldn't make a good father to Wes, which is why he left thinking it was best for both Wes and his mom. Wes listened carefully, beginning to understand Dean's actions. Abel showed Wes his collection of bikes and encouraged him to continue racing, reminding him of his talent and potential. Later, Wes went to Camila's house to apologize, but she wasn't interested in talking. He told her about an upcoming big race and invited her and Leo to attend. However, Camila explained that she couldn't bear the thought of him risking his life on the track and chose to leave. The next day, as Wes prepared for a race, he spotted Dean, who was also competing. Curious, Wes asked why, and Dean explained he was racing too. Just before the race began, Wes noticed Camila in the crowd, calling out to him. As the race started, Wes and Dean surged ahead, fiercely competing for first place. But near the finish line, Dean unexpectedly veered off course and crashed. With Dean out of the race, Wes crossed the finish line first. As Dean was taken for medical care, he raised his hand to congratulate Wes, who nodded in acknowledgement. The movie ends with everyone celebrating Wes's victory. Camila rushed to the track and kissed him, a moment of reconciliation and triumph. The crowd cheered, marking the joyous conclusion of the race and Wes's hard-earned success.